Today we're driving the new Skoda Octavia RS, but this is the IV version. It's the first of the sportiest models to come along, and that IV signifies that this is a plug-in hybrid variant. So what it has is a 1.4 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine underneath the bonnet, and that's joined by an electric motor that's powered by a 13 kilowatt-hour battery that resides underneath the rear seats and in the boot. Combined, they deliver a power output of 245 horsepower and 400 newton meters, making this the most powerful of the Octavia RS range. Now, to look at it, it's not all that different actually. You get this RS grille across the front, which is black and has a new badge on the front. Also integrates the IV into that badge. You get a black spoiler along the bottom, and you get all the usual sort of treatments that we're used to seeing on these sportier models. In fact, the only way you're going to really spot that this is the IV version is when you come around and you see the charge port here on the side. This is where you plug in the car to charge up the battery, and once that battery is full, you'll have around about 60 kilometers of electric only driving range. Now, as you can see, it gets some pretty tasty looking alloy wheels, and you get black door mirrors, same with the window surround and the roof rails. This particular car also has panoramic glass sunroof. And then around the back, this is the combi version. You get, again, some black treatment around there and some extra detailing across the rear bumper and around the diffuser. Now, the keener-eyed of you may spot that this doesn't look all that low. Because of the hybrid system, this actually doesn't have the reduced ride height that we're used to seeing on the usual petrol or diesel RS models. But that said, they have tuned the suspension to accommodate this. So it does get a specific suspension tune, unlike the regular Octavia IV. So this is designed to accommodate for that. The back then, because of that battery, the boot space is slightly smaller. It's 150 litres smaller, but it's still a really big boot because it was huge to start with. The other advantage is that now it has a flat load height, so actually right the way out to the end, it's really easy to get heavier items in. And you still have all the practical features. You can drop the rear seats down. There's a ski hatch. You get these quick release buttons here to drop the rear seats. There's some hooks as well. So it's still every bit as practical as you would want, and it's what we expect from Skoda. Inside, it does feel more special and a bit more unique. You get this perforated leather steering wheel. It's a flat bottomed, and this is the 3-spoke design, so you have the RS logo at the base. The digital instrument display, it's a 10.25 inch unit, and again this does get some specific displays, so you can see it has some RS graphics on it and it looks quite nice. You can toggle through different displays depending on what your preference is. There's a larger infotainment screen as well, looks really nice. Again, you've got different functions that you can go through, so you can tailor, for example, what you want to have displayed. There's an e-manager function on this as well, so what that will do is that will show you the current rate of charge, how much range you have, all that sort of stuff for the plug-in hybrid system. You've got controls here along the bottom. It's a touch sensitive capacitive bar here for adjusting the volume. It's quite nice the way that's integrated too, and you have this carbon fiber effect for the wing. So the whole point of this section of the dashboard is that it's easy to kind of rest your hand on for if you do need to use that larger display. Below that, there are a single bank of buttons here for your climate control. Also has the drive mode function, which more people may use with this car more than some other versions, and you can go through sport and select also between the E mode or the hybrid mode. Along with that carbon fiber finish, there's also an Alcantara panel here on the dash. It's got some red stitching. It looks really good actually, and that's again one of the elements where you see the quality does really seem to have lifted quite a bit in this latest generation Octavia RS. Now that there's a shift-by-wire system for the transmission, there's no bulky gear lever anymore. You just get this nice little toggle switch. It is the exact same as how it appears in other Octavia models as well, and also it's pretty much the same as what you'll get in the likes of the Golf and the Leon. But it does free up quite a bit of space here, and then that makes it much easier to access the wireless charging pad in the front here. There's also 2 USB-C ports here as well. You get an electronic handbrake, automatic hold assist, a little spot to put your key in here. There's also a new key design, and then you've got 2 cup holders here and some space underneath. Now, one of the other nice features are these new seats. They look really, really smart. They've got a nice sort of textured feel to them. It's got the RS logo embroidered into the back, and they have quite a good amount of support actually. They're not overly firm, so you don't feel like you're in a racing car, but at the same time, they're actually quite good over a longer journey. They will hold you in place when you're cornering with a bit more enthusiasm. One of the other new features that I can't show you technically is there's now a new side airbag that is mounted into the driver's seat. This is going to appear first in the RS, also going to come in the Octavia Scout, and it will be an option in regular Octavia models, but it comes as standard in the RS. And what it is an extra airbag that is mounted in here on the side, and in the case of a side impact, it can deploy and prevent basically the front occupants from knocking heads together or colliding with each other. So that's another safety feature that debuts on the Octavia RS. It's a little bit strange driving an Octavia RS and having no sound, but you can drive up to 60 kilometers with a full charge using only the electric motor. That's actually quite powerful. Up to 330 newton meters of torque is available using only E mode. So in that respect, it's actually quite good. You can leave early in the morning without waking your neighbors, or arrive home late at night without getting noticed. You do also have a choice in what engine gets used. You can revert to a hybrid mode if you want, and that will then switch between the electric motor and the 1.4 litre petrol engine. Now, if you do have your destination input into the navigation, it will also use that information to adjust the hybrid setting. And for example, as you approach a town, it will automatically start to increase the energy recovery and harvest some energy by slowing the car down that way. Now, in hybrid mode, when the engine does activate, it just came in there, it's quite smooth actually. It doesn't make any sort of sudden vibrations, it's not particularly harsh, and it drives along quite normally. In fact, it's almost too normal. Considering that this is the RS, some people may find that in the normal mode, it doesn't quite deliver anything all that different to a regular Octavia. Now, the ride quality is noticeably firmer. That's the one thing you will spot straight away in driving the 2 cars. It's not overly harsh by any means, even though it does have slightly larger wheels, but you do just notice that over the bumps it is that bit firmer. It doesn't have the same sort of compliant soft ride. It is a little bit sharper in that respect. Now, out on the motorway, it does calm down a little bit in terms of ride comfort. It's actually not that bad, and a longer journey I don't think it's going to be all that tiring in the car. The seats are pretty good as well, nice and supportive. Now, the engine, it's not bad. You do get a little bit of power boost from the electric motor, and that's useful for overtaking, for example. It does get up to speed, although the engine itself, it's not exactly the most vocal thing in the world. Now, that does change when you press sport mode, because what that does is, as well as adding a little bit more weight to the steering, it starts to immediately pump in this kind of alien engine sound to it. It's a real kind of growly sound. If I'm honest, it's really fake, almost too fake actually. It makes the car sound more like an old Subaru Impreza rather than an inline 4. So I don't know if anyone is really going to like that all that much actually. It just seems a bit too fake, and that's a little bit disappointing actually, because it's actually more pronounced when you're at slower speeds and you're using the throttle. As soon as you apply any sort of throttle, this growling noise starts to come through. And when I drove earlier with it, I ended up turning it off very, very quickly. It just becomes a little bit annoying. Some people may love it, but personally, I just think it's a little bit too fake for my liking, and it doesn't do the car any favors. But apart from that, let me turn that off. Apart from that, well, it's quite a nice car. It's got a decent mix of sportiness to it. It steers quite nicely. I had it in the twisty stuff earlier on, and it feels fine. You do notice, certainly after some more spirited driving, You are aware of the weight in the car. For example, on the brakes, on some of the corners, you do need to give yourself an extra 5 meters of braking distance. I would imagine that maybe if you took this on a track day, it might start to overwhelm the brakes a little bit. But aside from that, in everyday driving, and that is, at the core of this car, this is an everyday usable hot hatch performance car, whatever you want to call it. And it does that very well. It strikes a very good balance between having, usable power and then having the everyday comfort that you're going to want to have. And this is a car that you are going to use every day. You're going to want to be able to be comfortable. You want to do distance in it, and it does all those things very well. The interior is also pretty well done, actually. I went through a bit of detail earlier, and when you're sitting in this car and you look around, it does feel higher quality than they did in the past, actually. And it's all simple things, but like the little bits of Alcantara, that suede material, and everywhere you sort of touch mostly feels quite nice. I mean, I don't like these plastic door pulls, but other than that, it's actually quite nice. As I said, the seats are pretty good, and people are going to like the ability that they can plug this in, that they can do short distances up to 60 kilometers on electric power only. It's better as a plug-in than an outright performance car, though, I think. If you are really pushing a little bit hard, it does tend to struggle a little bit trying to put that power down to the tarmac, and particularly out of slower corners. When you put your foot down, it will sort of give you a little bit of torque steer. It'll pull at the steering a little bit. Some people will like that. I don't mind it. I'd rather a car had a little bit of spirit than just being a very dead, almost too digital experience. I'm not entirely sure that this car will win over the dyed-in-the-wool Skoda RS enthusiasts, but I think there's a lot of people out there that will look at the performance that you can have for this car. The fact that it's a plug-in now, it benefits, depending on where you live obviously, but it benefits from a lot of financial breaks or a lot of financial benefits, be it through VRT grants or to registration bonuses and all that kind of stuff, again depending on where you live in the world. It's also got the lowest emissions of all the Octavia RS models too, so that has another plus. And well, it's just a little bit different. There's no doubt we're going towards electrification, whether it's hybrid, plug-in hybrid or full electric, and I think this car strikes a good balance of two. I like the fact that you can do up to 60 kilometers in it. You could do your everyday driving Monday to Friday, going in and out of work, or doing school runs or whatever it is you do, using predominantly electric power. And then you want to have some fun at the weekend, you want to go out for a drive with your friends over your favorite road, you've still got pretty good levels of performance there. And the 1.4 engine, it's not quite as good as what you're going to have in terms of responsiveness in the 2-litre version, I think. I haven't driven that yet, but going on past experience, I think it's going to be a bit of a trade-off for people. Some people will like this, some people will prefer the reduced weight and the different handling characteristics that can bring about. But there's now 3 Octavia RSs to choose from. What would you have? So that's our first drive review of the new Skoda Octavia RS IV. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please do give the video a thumbs up, and we'd love to know what you think about the car. So get involved in the comments below and have your say about what you think about this car. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the Complete Car YouTube channel, and when you do that, if you hit the notification bell, then you'll be alerted the next time we upload a review. Thanks for watching.